right. Well, we have a great day planned for us today. It's so good to see you all here. Thank you for being here. I'm Reverend J. Wolin, the settled minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota and Lakewood Ranch. We especially want to welcome our visitors today, both on campus and as well on live stream on YouTube. And we invite you to participate in any of our events, and you can find out more about us and Unitarian Universalism from our website, which is uucsarasota.com. As well, if you want, sign the guest book either online on our website or right outside the door here, and you will get our weekly newsletter and not too many other emails. And so we look forward to getting to know each other. We have one announcement today. Today is the last day for the sign-up for November 19th and December 17th get-together dinners. So look for the sign-up table in the courtyard today. So our opening reading today, let us come together, settle in, is called All Souls Chalice Lighting by Florence Caplow, the Reverend Florence Caplow. A full moon rises behind the silhouette of trees. As we kindle this flame, we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision. Their courage lives on in our communities. And their love continues to bless the world through us. And so now I invite you, and I'll invite Indira to come light our chalice. I invite you to say the words of affirmation, which are printed in your order of service and will be on the screen. As we light this chalice together, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, we affirm our sixth source of wisdom, which informs our living tradition, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. And now I would like to invite up our special musical guest, Taja.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you today and to share with you a song about love. And this song comes from the Ukraine. It's one of their most famous folk songs. And while I sing this song, I welcome you to send love to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian people, healing. I'll be singing this song with a Ukrainian friend of mine. His name is Boris. You'll hear his voice in the background also. Well, something happened. Bear with me.
Niczego mi zaczyna.
Thank you.
Hi. Well, that's not the best place to stand. Okay. All right. That's a little loud, guys. Woo. I can already see it on your face. What in the world is Catherine doing today? Well, no fears. I'm going to tell you. Because this is the month of courage. We started off the month of courage. And so earlier in the month, when I went into the religious education class, we were talking about things that scare you, right? Because you got to face the things that scare you. So I had to admit to some personal things with these kids because they were admitting some personal things too. Oh. Excuse me, I'm undressing here. Didn't work. Anyway, so we were talking about courage and facing the things that you're afraid of. And, you know, there's a lot of things that I'm afraid of, things that go bump in the night. And I was thinking of something that went bump in the night. And, you know, there is nothing more, though, than hearing that will wake me up out of a dead sleep into full ninja pose. Because my biggest fear are flying cockroaches. They are coming for me. I know it. As soon as I hear it, my whole body goes into ninja mode, and I freak out. So this was the fear that I needed to face today. Face this month. Oh my gosh, I'm falling apart. Anyway, so we talked about facing our fears. We talked about how we're all interconnected. I was not too happy about that one. We talked about how each of us is unique and that we need to have some understanding of our uniqueness. So they say to get rid of your fears, you have to face them. And so I did not do the full fear episode. I did not lock myself in a room full of cockroaches. So I took the more passive route by actually trying to understand the world through a cockroach's eyes and doing some research on cockroaches, okay? So you never hear from the cockroach's perspective. Today, I'm going to give you the cockroach's perspective, okay? So here I am. I'm going to go into character. Hey, y'all. I'm Goober. How are you? Glad you invited me here. Oh, no, you didn't. Ha ha, the joke's on you. Joke's on you guys. You know, it's been fun watching Catherine try to figure out what roaches are all about. Me and my buddies, we've been hanging out there in the corner underneath the sink, watching, you know, singing our anthem. I'm proud to be an American cockroach where I know that I am free to come into your house anytime because you can't stop me. Oh, you didn't like that one? Well, you know what? In the north, you guys got big deers. You got big squirrels. In the south, well, we got big bugs and we don't lie because we know that we can squirm and fly. No, you don't like that one. All right, I'm going to go on. All right, so today's topic is what? Ancestors? Well, guess what? Me and my kin, we've been here for 350 million years. We've seen climate change you ain't even thought about. And at the rate you're going, we're going to be here long after you guys are here. Long after you guys are here. So we've been around a long time, and there is no way you're going to keep us out of your house because you are the palace smorgasbord of food for us. You know, the word cockroach actually comes from the words that mean flee in the light. And that's normally what happens, right? You flick on the light and we all scatter. Except for those of us who were so engrossed in the things that you have for us to eat, like food residues, books, paper, clothing. Anything you got in your house is just a smorgasbord for us. And you know what? Forget about that flip-flop. It's not going to do anything. We are like, you cannot destruct us. You really can't. You cannot destruct us. But I do say my most favorite thing to do is to crawl up walls, and then they say, they didn't ask me, but they say the reason why we fly is because we get anxious. Don't judge me. Creatures get anxious too. They get anxious and nervous. Heck no, that's not the case. We just want to see Catherine freak out. That's all we do. She turns into a maniac. She starts batting around, fleeing and yelling and screaming, "Get out of the house!" That is her only sense of empathy. Get out of the house? Heck no, I wouldn't do that, and you wouldn't do that either. So, I'm going to leave you with these words. Courage. Face your courage. Figure out what makes you afraid. It is a natural reaction to something, right? Don't just forget about it. Don't tuck it away, because it'll only get bigger and worse. So, talking about things that bump in the night, I see a few more of my friends coming in. And if you are in costume and want to join in at the very end, we would love to have you come and join our costume parade. Can you play some scary music for us as they come around? Silly wings. All right, guys, come on into the party.
Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, I just love this church so much. Like, I've never had this much fun at a service before. So as I was contemplating my ancestral practices, writing this piece was easier than I anticipated it to be. Usually when I write or sit down to do a task, I feel this inner fire that burns through me until it is let out. But this time I felt an inner peace that was disorienting from my usual creative process. I was reminded as I sat down to write that I am just sharing my personal experience, and there is no rubric or right or wrong way to share my connection with my ancestors. Once I realized this, I was able to relax even more into sharing my connection. So I share this with you all to remind you that this is my experience with my ancestors. And if you would like to connect with yours, connect with yourself and let your heart guide you back home. For a long time, I didn't feel like I was doing enough to bridge the seeming gap between my ancestors and me. This was frustrating because I tend to pick up new skills with ease. This was not one of those challenges, and to top it off, I was looking at other people excel. The people that were excelling were my sisters, and I was jealous, which absolutely sucks, especially to be jealous of people who are so close to you. That bothered me tremendously, and I tried to fight it, or at least not show it, because I didn't want to be seen as someone who would covet anything from anyone else, but it happens. My sisters are both highly intuitive people. My oldest sister is a medium, a deaf doula, and a spiritual doula. And my middle sister, Celeste, is an astrologer and a numerologist and is dedicated when it comes to learning new things. For a long time, it just felt like I was toddling after them. And I was trying to keep up with them, but it just never ended up working out for me. I felt like an imposter or an implant when it came to hanging out with my ancestors. And because I felt rejected, I rejected them or didn't try as hard as I could have. It has taken me a while to unpack all of this and uncover my own ways to connect and my own gifting. There have been a lot of tears and some overcompensating, which only made me feel worse because you can't lie to yourself inside. Honesty has been a key part in deepening my relationship with my ancestors. It helped me to realize that I was relying too much on my left brain when it comes to matters of spirituality. My inability to understand the fact that I won't know everything about the spiritual realm and its workings was holding me back. It was uncomfortable letting go of everything I thought I knew and becoming like a child again, willing to explore with wonder and excitement. But once I did, it was like they were sitting there the whole time. My sisters didn't need things explained to them. They didn't need the facts. They just moved with their internal guidance. And because they were able to do this, they flourished. I realized that that same guidance came up for me, and I always questioned it. I needed to see more before I was willing to trust. Trust and faith are a key part in connecting with my ancestral guidance. Now, I was beginning to understand the beauty and wonder of walking by faith and not by sight. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to reflect upon my connection to my ancestors and also to look at how far we have come. This has truly helped me to open up the door to my ancestors even more, and what a blessing it is to do it around Halloween when the veil is the thinnest. Okay. And you can hear me. Cool. Okay, and so now I'm going to play the sound bowls with Don Bryn, and I just ask that you close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that, and to think about someone that may have passed on who you really loved, someone you had fun with, and just call them up in your mind. Maybe you're sitting on a park bench, or you're at the beach, or you're at your favorite place, and just be with them and share a beautiful communion with them. So I'll play now, okay? Thank you so much, everyone. And I just want to make sure you know that your ancestors love you even though they have moved on. So please take some time to just sit with them every now and then because they love you just like you love them. Thank you.
Wow, it's a lot of people. Hi. Um, I wanted to talk to you today about ancestral connection and ritual for me. It is said that Greek gods or deities lost their power because people stopped their acknowledgments. They ceased to bring offerings, to participate in ritual practices, and finally, to speak their names. They are the legends of history and fictional content characters. Speak up, okay. I want to apologize if I cry because this is a very special part of my life. My own ancestors of the African diaspora are most often referred to in tragedy, loss, and trauma. Many of us, including myself, have worked to learn more about our history as a people and of our individual family ancestry. As my understanding of God has shifted, so has my intimate spirituality and my connection to my ancestors. My connection to my ancestors began with an invitation to commune together. With a clear understanding, if you were traveling with me on the journey of this life, and you bring no hurt, harm, chaos, evil, or danger, but are accompanying me on this journey to realize the optimum levels of potential in this lifetime, then not only are you welcome, but I want to know you. My ancestors and spirit guides are welcome because they add to the wisdom, the peace, and the life of this journey. Originally, I did the traditional things that most people do. I created an altar space. I placed crystals, fresh food, coffee, drinks, etc. But as I began to learn through meditation and dreams, they gave me direction that formed my rituals. On my altar now are meaningful books that I consider sacred reading, which I also find build on my understanding of ancestry and spiritual practices before colonialism. I was directed to only place fresh water on my altar, and I have a djembe drum and a journal. Altars are sacred, and for some of us, immensely private spaces. I will never invite anyone other than my husband or children near my altar. My ancestors are remembered and acknowledged daily in my thoughts, my conversations, at the altar of my spirit, and the altar of my home. My personal rituals for connecting with my ancestors include meditations, conversations, water, and writing. Each night, I offer them water. I want to offer you a definition for the word breath as the wide range or extent of something. When I place the water on my altar, I say, this water is the breath of life and power between you and I, and the continuous sorry, I just messed that up. This water is the breath of life, power, and the continuous harmonious communication between you and I. I spend a few moments in quiet meditation with them and the water, and then I move on. In the morning, I greet my ancestors and sit quietly with them. When I feel ready, I drink the water that connects us. They had it overnight, and now I consume it. This water is the breath of life, power, and the continuous harmonious communication between you and I. When I am done, I say the way is clear before me. Sometimes that is enough. Other times I am led to say more, or I am led to listen more. When my ancestors or I want to commune in a more tangible way, I am led to listen to drum beats and do automatic writing. I found that if I cannot hear them, listening to the drum beats becomes a powerful mode of connection. It is often amazing to me what comes out of those sacred sessions. Sometimes it is instructions. Sometimes they are reminders of forgotten or overlooked moments. Other times it's visions for the days ahead. No matter what is revealed through the writing, I can literally feel the power of the words. Those writings are sacred and are not things I share. When I connect with my ancestors, whether it is to invite them in, to come closer, to sit with me, to speak to me, to show me or help me, I feel a sense of connection so profound that it is hard to describe, but I will try. It feels like my spirit has a memory of people, places, events, and situations that consciously I had not understood. I feel loved, protected, and seen. I feel I am awakening and opening up in the most beautiful and transformational way. I feel like I am not alone in ways my husband, daughters, family, and community cannot be with me. My connection and rituals with my ancestors are as vital to me as my next breath. It is the flow of life and power connecting and sustaining me to the possibilities of love in the most worthy forms of my existence and experiences. Thank you.
Our reading today is from Thich Nhat Hanh, called You Are My Garden. A tree is dying in my garden. You see it. But you also see other trees that are still vigorous and joyful, and I am thankful. I know a tree is dying in my garden, but I do not see it as the whole of my garden. And I need you to remind me of that. I am told, take care of the garden left to me by my ancestors. A garden always has beautiful trees and others that are not so healthy. And that is the reason why we have to take good care of it. You are my garden, and I know that I should practice as a gardener. I have seen an old untended garden where the cherry and peach trees still bloom wonderfully and in time. End of reading. And I would like to just share that we are the gardeners of this church, our garden. And in order for it to bloom wonderfully and to stay healthy, we have to take care of it through our time dedicated to it and with our financial support. And so it is with that thought in mind that we now take our weekly offering. We invite you to please be as generous as you can. For those online or even those here on your cell phone, there is a link to donate on our YouTube video or on our website. Let this sacred time begin. Thank you, Don. Beautiful. Another reading today from a different source, the movie The Bucket List, as spoken by the character Carter Chambers, played by Morgan Freeman. And he says, the ancient Egyptians had a beautiful belief about death, that when their souls got to the entrance of heaven, the gods asked them two questions. Their answers determined whether they were admitted or not. And the first one was, have you found joy in your life? And the second was, has your life brought joy to others? I'm just going to ask you to do something for me to find the joy in your life. Our lives are streams flowing into the same river towards whatever heaven lies in the mist beyond the falls. Find the joy in your life. And now once more for some joyful music, I invite up Taja.
Thank you. So this next song I'll be singing for you is in Hebrew, and it's about the eucalyptus forest. And beside this forest all of life is passing by in this community. Little babies are growing up, and they have their babies, and their babies are growing up, and then their hair turns gray, and generation after generation passes by, and they're swimming in the Jordan River. So all of this change occurs, but nothing really changes. The eucalyptus forest remains as it is, and the river runs beside the forest.
כשימה בהנה יפה וצעירה מוזה בעל גבעה בנה לבנים הלפו האביבים יצאים מעברה ונטלים הלפו סיבה בינתיים אבל על חוף ידיהם כמו מאומה לא קרה אתה דומיה וגם אותה אתה הורד פורשן האקליפטוס הגר של הסירה וריח המולויה על המים פורשן האקליפטוס הגר של הסירה וריח המולויה על המים שבהן יורדת עדת התינוקות הם בירדן ישבו רגליים אלו התינוקות כבר למדו מספור איש מהניר הם פוסעים ושלמים אבל על חוף ירדן כמו מאומה לא קרה אתה דומיה וגם אותה אתה הורד פורשן האקליפטוס הגר של הסירה וריח המולויה על המים פורשן
maybe not. Okay, here we go. So, when I was young, I had a neighbor, Mr. Goodman, who lived across the street from me. And he had this German Shepherd behind his fence. And it would bark ferociously and snarl. And it actually got the nickname called Demon Dog. And then stories started spreading about how it had, bitten off the finger of somebody who went into the backyard once. So, of course, everybody dared each other to go in. Every time we'd walk by, that dog would snarl. And then one day, my neighbor was going on vacation. I was maybe about 10 years old, and he asked me if I would watch the dog and feed the dog for him. And I thought, well, my need for money was greater than my fear of death at that point. And so I accepted the job. And the first day I went, I had some dog food and treats in my pocket. And as I warily went to that back gate and opened it up to go feed the dog, all of a sudden that dog came and jumped on me and started licking me, and all it wanted to do was play. Didn't even care about the treats. And so I point this out because really all that barking and snarling was just a calling for people to come and play with the dog and explore with it. And we all perceived it very differently. And so today we are here to celebrate and honor ancestry. And I honor and celebrate an ancestral holiday related to our sixth source, which is the spiritual teaching of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature, what we read when we lit the candle. Now, this source, I would imagine, is one that many of us are least familiar with. I have to admit, when I first became a Unitarian Universalist, I had no idea what a pagan was, let alone the difference between pagans, Wiccans, heathens, and what we call as a catch-all phrase, earth-centered traditions. But our religious pluralism calls us, to open that gate and to explore the different religious traditions and see how they can be meaningful in our lives. It also calls us to support those in our community to whom this source is meaningful as well. And so with an openness of heart and mind, I opened that little construct of a gate that I had in my mind, and I explored this tradition to better understand paganism and specifically the holiday Samhain. And it really is quite a beautiful and a holiday and ritual. And this holiday asks us to consciously think about individuals who are meaningful to us in our lives, but who have died. Samhain asks us to remember and honor the ancestors, known and unknown, without whom we would not be sitting here today. It is, of course, not a coincidence that Christian All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, earth-based tradition, Samhain, and the Mexican holiday Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, are all observed around Halloween. Death can be a very fearful thing. Remember how Catherine talked about facing the things that you fear, and often death and facing those feelings can be very scary. I think that's why people put on these Halloween masks and costumes, as a way to face fear, at least in not a specific way, but in a subtle way. And then by just doing so, it gives you courage to face your fear in other ways or other fears. So Samhain is from the Celtic tradition, meaning summer's end, and originates historically from an agrarian society. When the crops have been harvested, the people are starting to prepare for winter. And although I really don't know all of you, I imagine most of us are not farmers today. We intuitively, though, understand, whether you may have your own garden in your house or maybe you were a farmer at one point, it's certainly, although maybe not quite as obvious in Florida as in other parts of the country, it is the time of the year when the sun is shining less hours of the day and onward until December 21st. And in the earth-based tradition, it is a time to be more conscious of our thoughts, to take time to reflect on our lives. We each have our joys and our sorrows, and we need to take time to reflect specifically about those sorrows of ones who have died. Now, it's not so much to necessarily think about what wisdom we may have gained from our ancestors, either by their actions or their lack of actions, but rather it is a time to recognize their existence and how we are a part of the same stream in the river of life that they flowed in. I know many of us have very many, being a pluralistic religion, many of us have many different beliefs about what happens to someone after they die. Some believe that when the body dies, that's it. The spirit dies as well. And as the Scottish poet Thomas Campbell said, and I quote, "To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die," end quote. There are some, I imagine, who believe in reincarnation, similar to the Buddhist tradition. From our Universalist Christian history, some believe, as the Universalist Hosea Ballou pointed to, and I quote, "an atoning spirit of love that is available to all people, and that salvation is universal," end quote. Others, like Unitarian Ralph Waldo Emerson, believe that our spirit returns to what Emerson called the oversoul. Emerson believed that our sensory experiences and our personal ego limited our ability to see beyond ourselves and limited our connection to the divine within each one of us. Now, Emerson was deeply influenced by many Hindu writings that speak of a universal soul that we all return to after we die. And what Emerson was expounding on in his essay, The Oversoul, was our inability to perceive reality as it is. And so we need to be open to understanding the universe beyond our own limited experiences. So a few examples, if we can put that picture up on the screen. If you remember a few years back, it was all the rage, this question about whether this dress was gold and white or blue and black. And does anybody remember that? If you can raise your hand, right? Okay. And so it is based on the amount of light that our eyes allow in that will determine what colors we see on the dress. Or in this next picture, which is an optical illusion. Okay, do you see a chalice or do you see two faces? Right, so for those who are sighted, it is a picture with a white in the center outlined by blackness, and you can look at it, depending on what way you look at it, you can see either a chalice or two faces. Or imagine a dog whistle, right? We know, our senses cannot hear it, but we know that it makes a sound, right? It is in this realization that our perceptions are flawed or not functioning the same as others or other species, right? That we must remain open to the insight about the unknown. Now, some religions, in the midst of non-understanding, promote fear and loathing. But Unitarian Universalism in the face of non-understanding promotes and asks you to search within yourself and within community to find out about the truth that we do not know, or we do not even know that we do not know, right? And to accept that we do not know everything, and that despite that uncertainty, we continue to live our lives and to take actions with our values of love and justice. And so, in practice, I honor my ancestors, my lineal ancestors who journeyed from poverty and religious persecution in Europe and again here in America to give me the opportunities that I had in my life. And I keep them present in my mind, and I honor them by utilizing those opportunities for good. But there are other ancestors as well. And I think about all the people even who founded this congregation, right? All of those who kept it going for the last 70 years. I want to keep those people present in my mind as well. I'm thankful that if not for them and what they did for this congregation, I might not be standing here with you today. If not for them, there might not be a Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota. We just assume that things will happen, but they don't. They happen because somebody does something. They are my ancestors as well. I think of my religious ancestors. I think of all my religious ancestors, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the prophets from the Jewish scriptures, and all who told their stories over the eons. To William Ellery Channing and Ralph Waldo Emerson, you see on the screen here. To Hosea Ballou and John Murray, all founders of Unitarianism and Universalism. And many, many others that came before and after. They are my ancestors as well. And remembering that many accomplished women leaders who were not often allowed to have public positions and leading roles or given the publicity that men were back in the day, as we can turn to the next picture, such as editor, author, revolutionary in the Spanish Civil War, Margaret Fuller, and a prolific writer and reformer, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, the first ordained minister in the United States, Olympia Brown, the next slide, and to keep renowned as well, renowned educator, Elizabeth Peabody, although we tend to pronounce it Peabody in Boston. They're very sensitive about it, Peabody. That's how she pronounced. I call people what they want to be called by, and that is what they want to be called by. I keep them present in my mind and remember that they too are my ancestors. Other religious spiritual ancestors, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rabbi Abraham Heschel, and the venerable Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, and all that came before and after them. I keep them present in my mind, and they too are my ancestors. And yes, I would also say even Yoda, the Silver Surfer, and Wolverine, fictional characters who inspired me in my youth and young adulthood, and all those who created them. I keep them present in my mind as they too are my ancestors, as they are all a part of who I became and why I am here right now. If we take seriously even our seventh principle, right, the respect the interdependent web of existence of all of which we are a part, taken to extreme would mean that we are honoring all of existence itself. And our reflections on the past should, as you notice I kept saying, bring us back to the present moment as a way to think about how our lives are affected by our ancestors. And so we must use our reflections to gain wisdom, to help us move forward in our lives so that one day our descendants will remember us as people who affected others' lives and this community in a meaningful way. May we lift up the veil, may we open the gate, may we get close to that which is beyond our understanding so that we may get a glimpse of what once was, what is, and what still yet may be. May it be so. And now, one last time, I invite us to listen to the beautiful music of Taja.
Thank you. This next song I'll be singing for you is in English, so you'll be able to understand all the words, I'm sure. And it's a very special song because it reminds me when I'm caught up in a situation to take myself out of that situation and look at it from a distance. From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the voice of hope, it's the voice of peace, it's the voice of every man. From a distance, we all have enough, and no one is in need. And there are no guns, no bombs, and no disease, no hungry mouths to feed. From a distance, we are instruments marching in the common band, playing songs of hope, playing songs of peace. They're the songs of every man. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. From a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance, I just cannot comprehend what all this fighting is for. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. This is the voice of every man. God is watching us. Allah is watching us. Whatever you want to call him is watching us from a distance. Oh yeah, God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Thank you.
Thank you for your music today. Our closing words, O ancestors, known and unknown of blood or by intention, thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to live, to learn, to love. Your character, your way of being, the consequences of your actions flow through us. Without you, we would not be who we are today. May we live in such a way that one day, long after our bodies die, someone known or unknown will say about us, "Oh, ancestor, thank you for giving me the opportunity to live, to learn, to love." Please now join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words will be on the screen or the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for your presence here today. Thank you.